So, Noah began to write, Jesus, I'm tired of running from you. His pen moved faster, like a dam breaking. Jesus, I've been afraid you would reject me if you saw the real me. Jesus, I'm angry because I don't understand the pain in my story. Jesus, I'm ashamed of the way I cope when I feel alone. His hand shook. Tears dropped onto the paper, darkening the ink. He wrote until his chest ached. Then he stopped, and his eyes landed on the line he'd learned to trust. If you're here, please don't let me go. Noah stared at that sentence like it was a lifeline thrown into deep water. He whispered out loud, Jesus, please don't let me go. Pause Essex. In the quiet, Noah didn't hear an audible voice, but he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not excitement, not adrenaline, but a steady calm, like being held by someone stronger than his fear. Outside, the city continued. Cars passed. People argued, laughed, hurried. Inside, Noah breathed. Elias entered quietly and sat a few rows behind, giving Noah space. Noah rested his head back and closed his eyes. He imagined his thoughts like waves. He didn't try to stop them. He let them rise and fall, and he pictured Jesus standing on the water, unshaken. Noah whispered, Peace be still. Pause fives. Then another whisper came, not from the ceiling, not from the air, but from a truth he had been ignoring. You don't have to be strong to be loved. Noah's shoulders loosened. He stayed in that pew for a long time. When he finally stood, the world didn't look magically different. His problems hadn't vanished, but he had something he didn't have before, a way to come to Jesus without pretending. On the way out, Noah stopped at the table of notebooks. He picked up a blank one and turned it over in his hands. Elias met him near the door. Couldn't handle the notebooks, Elias asked. Every label felt like her for someone else, even when it wasn't. Elias smiled. I started giving them away too quickly. Good. Sometimes I handed one to someone in the parking lot, like a lantern. Sometimes I slipped one into a bag of groceries. Sometimes he paused and looked at Noah. Sometimes I gave one to a young man sitting in a kitchen, ashamed to need help, Elias said softly. A long time ago, and I think he put it in a drawer and forgot it was there. Noah's stomach dropped. He tried to speak, but his throat closed. Elias's eyes were kind. You didn't know what it was then, Elias said. And that's okay. Seeds don't bloom the day you bury them. Noah's hands trembled. So, you gave it to me, he whispered. Elias nodded. I did. Noah stared at the church door, the warm light, the steps Elias swept, the table of notebooks. It wasn't random. It was mercy that waited. Noah exhaled, and the air felt thick with emotion. Why would you remember me? He asked. Elias smiled. Anna remembered you, he said. She used to pray for people she met once. She believed Jesus could find them again. Noah looked down, tears finally spilling. I don't deserve that, he said. Elias's voice was gentle. That's the point, he replied. Grace isn't wages. Noah wiped his face, embarrassed, but Elias didn't look away. Noah whispered, I've been angry at God. Elias nodded. Tell him. Noah's mouth tightened. I've blamed him for things he didn't do. Elias nodded again. Tell him. Noah's shoulders shook. I've done things I'm ashamed of. Elias's eyes stayed steady. Tell him. Noah inhaled sharply and stood, suddenly unable to sit with all that weight. He walked into the church, past the table, toward the back pew where he usually sat. He sat down hard, clutching the notebook. The room was quiet. The candles flickered. Noah opened to a blank page and stared. For a long minute, no words came. Then he remembered the simplest instruction that changed everything. One Unsent. in him like a seed. Why did you talk to me that first night? Noah asked. You didn't even know me. Elias's eyes crinkled. I knew tired, he said, and I knew the look of someone trying to carry their life alone. Noah swallowed. I still don't understand how the notebook ended up in my drawer. Elias's smile faded into something gentler. Maybe it's time you do. Noah frowned. What do you mean? Elias looked down at his hands. The notebooks used to be my wife's idea, he said. She started them. Noah stayed quiet. Elias continued. She believed people needed a way to pray without fear. She used to say, if Jesus carried a cross, he can carry your words. Noah's chest tightened. What was her name? Elias's eyes glistened. Anna. The name hung in the air like a candle flame. Elias swallowed, then reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small photo, worn edges folded too many times. In it, a woman stood on these same church steps, smiling in sunlight, holding a stack of notebooks. Noah stared at the photo. Something about the smile felt familiar, like he'd seen it in someone else. Elias watched Noah's face carefully. Do you recognize her? He asked. Noah's mind surged, then stopped on a memory so old it felt like another life. His mother taking him to a soup kitchen when he was a teenager, embarrassed, angry at being poor charity. A woman with kind eyes had handed him a warm drink and said, you don't have to be ashamed to need help. Noah's breath caught. That was her, he whispered. Elias nodded slowly. She never forgot the people who came here hungry, he said. Not only for food, but for mercy. Noah's voice shook. I was rude that day, he admitted. I remember rolling my eyes. I remember thinking she didn't understand. Elias smiled, sad and warm at the same time. She understood more than you knew. Noah stared at the photo. I don't get it, he said. How does that connect to the notebook? Elias took a slow breath. After Anna died, Ulders looked slightly lower, as if she'd put down a burden she didn't know she was allowed to drop. At the door, she paused beside Noah and said quietly, I wrote, Jesus, I'm scared to hope. Noah nodded, eyes gentle. That's a brave prayer, he said. Mara's mouth trembled into something almost like a smile. Do you think he heard it? Noah answered the way Elias had taught him, steady, without performance. Yes. Noah kept returning to the church, not out of duty, but because something there reminded him of who he wanted to be. Honest, present, unafraid to ask for help. The notebook became a strange kind of mirror. Each time Noah wrote, he expected to feel exposed. But each time, he felt lighter, as if the truth had weight, and setting it down was an act of worship. He learned how to write prayers that weren't performances. Some nights he wrote only one line. Jesus, I'm jealous and I hate that. Jesus, I miss my dad. Jesus, I'm afraid I'll never be enough. He didn't always feel peace afterward, but he felt less alone. And slowly, Noah started noticing that Jesus answered in ways he used to overlook. In a friend texting at the exact right time, in a stranger's kindness, in the strength to apologize, in the courage to stop hiding. On a Tuesday evening, Noah arrived at the church and found Elias sitting on the steps without a broom. The old man looked more tired than usual. Noah sat beside him. You okay? He asked. Elias smiled faintly. Just older than I was yesterday. Noah chuckled, then noticed Elias's hands trembling slightly. Elias turned his face toward the street, watching people pass. "Do you know why this place stays quiet?" he asked. Noah shrugged. "Because you keep it that way." Elias shook his head. "Because people are loud everywhere else. They need one place where they can stop pretending." Noah looked at the open door. "It's helped me," he admitted. Elias nodded. "It's helped me too." Noah hesitated, then asked the question that had been forming. He already stepped into human pain. He already carried nails. He already knows how heavy sin and shame can feel. Noah stared at the cross. Outside, wind began to rise. The windows trembled slightly. Somewhere far off, thunder rolled like a warning. Noah remembered the gospel story. Disciples in a boat, terrified, waves slamming, and Jesus asleep, unbothered by chaos. Noah used to think that story was about storms on water. Now he wondered if it was about storms in the mind. The thunder came closer. Rain hit harder. Noah's heart tightened automatically, bracing for something to go wrong. His mind started to run again. Elias spoke softly, almost as if he was speaking to the storm inside Noah. "Peace," Elias said. "Be still." Noah didn't know if Elias was quoting scripture or simply repeating it into the air. Either way, the words landed in Noah's chest like a hand pressing gently on a racing heartbeat. Noah breathed in, then he breathed out, and for a moment, just a moment, his mind did not sprint ahead. The storm outside continued, but inside something shifted. Not a miracle that flashed, a miracle that settled. Noah opened a notebook, turned to a blank page, and wrote another prayer. "Jesus, teach me how to be held." Then he wrote the familiar line, "If you're here, please don't let me go." And in the quiet between thunder, Noah could almost feel it. Jesus was here. Slow, intimate tone. Keep plenty of space for pauses. A week passed. Mara came back too. Not every day, not even every week. But she came, sometimes with the children, sometimes alone, sometimes with that guarded look that said, "I might run if this feels unsafe." The first time she returned alone, she didn't ask for anything. She just sat in the last pew and held a pen like it was heavier than it should be. Noah sat several rows away, giving her space, the way Elias had given him space. After a long time, Mara wrote one sentence, then stopped, then wrote another. When she finally stood to leave, her S. W to pray anymore, she whispered. "I tried. I did. But now, I feel nothing." Noah felt his chest tighten, because her words were his words. He reached in his bag, pulled out the notebook, and set it gently on the table, like placing a candle in the dark. "I found this," Noah said. "It helped me say something. Maybe it could help you." Mara looked down at the label. "Prayers I never sent." Her fingers hovered over it like it might bite. Then she touched the cover, and her breath caught. "I used to write," she said quietly, "before everything." Noah nodded. "You don't have to pray pretty," he said. "Just honest." Mara's eyes lifted. "Does Jesus really listen?" she asked, "when it feels like he's far?" Noah wanted to answer like Elias, without drama, without performance. "Yes," Noah said, and for the first time, Noah realized something surprising. He believed it, not because he felt strong, but because he'd seen Jesus show up in small rooms, in quiet steps, in soup and blankets, in an old man sweeping, and a notebook appearing at 2:17 a.m. Later that night, Sitting in his car before driving home, Noah reread his sister's message. "You're always distant." He didn't defend himself. He typed one honest reply and sent it. "I'm sorry. I've been drowning. Can we talk this weekend?" Then he whispered, "Jesus, help me come back." That night, after Mara and the children left with food and a warm place arranged by someone from the church, Noah stayed. He sat in the back pew, watching candlelight tremble. Elias sat beside him. Noah whispered, "I think I've been praying wrong." Elias asked, "How so?" Noah swallowed. "I've been trying to sound like I don't need help." Elias nodded slowly. "And?" Noah exhaled. "And I do." Elias's eyes were soft. "Then you're finally ready to pray." Noah's voice broke. Elias's
what if my mistakes
are
are
too
quiet?
many? Then don't
Elias
call it charity.
leaned
Closer.
Call it family.
Not invading.
Mara's
eyes
near
filled
enough to be
fast.
heard.
She
Then you
looked
bring the
away,
mistakes too,
blinking hard.
he said.
"Family doesn't
Jesus
do this,"
isn't shocked
she
by you.
whispered. "Family leaves." Noah felt a sting behind his eyes. The sentence sounded like a prayer someone never sent. Elias extended his hand, not grabbing her, just offering a choice. "Jesus doesn't leave," he said softly. "Come warm up." For a moment, Mara didn't move. Then the older child, maybe 6, looked up at Mara and whispered, "Mom, I'm hungry again." Mara's shoulders collapsed like a wall, finally giving up. She nodded. Inside the church, Mara and the children sat at a small table near the back, sipping soup. Noah watched them from a distance, unsure what to do with his own feeling of helplessness. Elias walked up beside Noah and said, "This is why the notebooks exist." Noah frowned. "Because of them?" Elias shook his head. "Because of all of us." Noah didn't understand. Elias continued, "People think prayer is only asking God for things. But prayer is also letting God make you into an answer for someone else." Noah swallowed. "I don't know how to be an answer." Elias looked at him. "You showed up. That's a start." Noah glanced at Mara. The sleeping child's head lolled against her shoulder, safe for the moment. The older child ate slowly, like he didn't trust that the food would last. Noah's mind whispered, "This is too heavy. You can't fix this." And then another thought, quieter, steadier. "You don't have to fix it. You can love." Noah walked to the table, nervous. "Hi," he said again, softer this time. Mara looked up, guarded. Noah searched for the right words and failed. So he used the only tool he had learned. One honest sentence. "I don't know what you've been through," Noah said, "but I'm sorry you're carrying it alone." Mara stared at him, and for a second Noah thought she would snap. Instead, her face crumpled. She covered her mouth with her hand, eyes wet. "I don't even know." Him without breaking. Noah's throat tightened. "What did you do?" Elias looked up at the cross. "I gave Jesus my breaking." Noah waited. Elias said, "I started writing prayers I was too ashamed to speak. I wrote the ugly parts, the angry parts, the parts that didn't sound spiritual. And I learned something." Noah's voice was small. "What?" Elias Zansverid, Jesus stayed. Noah's eyes burned. He turned his face slightly, embarrassed by his own emotion. Elias didn't rush him. He just sat, letting the silence become a friend. After a moment, Elias stood and said, "Come outside. I want to introduce you to someone." They stepped onto the sidewalk. Across the street, near a bus stop, a woman sat hunched over with 2 small children. One child leaned against her shoulder, asleep. The other stared blankly at the ground, clutching a paper cup. The woman looked exhausted in a way Noah recognized, the kind of exhaustion that isn't from one bad night, but from too many. Elias walked slowly toward her, hands visible, respectful. "Evening, Mara," Elias said. The woman looked up, wary at first, then softened when she recognized him. Elias." Elias nodded toward Noah. "This is Noah." Noah raised his hand awkwardly. Mara's eyes moved over Noah quickly, like she was measuring whether he was safe. "Hi," she said, voice guarded. Elias knelt slightly, keeping his tone gentle. "How are you doing tonight?" Mara gave a humorless laugh. "How do you think?" Elias didn't correct her. He only asked, "Did you eat?" Mara hesitated. "The kids did," she admitted. "I'm fine." Noah noticed how her hand shook as she adjusted the sleeping child's jacket. "It's cold," Noah said before he could stop himself. "Do you have somewhere to go?" Mara's eyes flashed, defensive. "We're waiting for a friend." Elias nodded calmly, as if he believed her without demanding proof. "We have soup inside," he said, "and blankets. No questions." Mara's jaw tightened. Pride and fear wrestled across her face. "I..." Tightened. "I don't like being without armor." Elias's voice stayed gentle. Neither did Peter. And yet Jesus still restored him. Armor can protect you, but it can also keep you from being held. Noah didn't answer. He didn't know how. Elias opened the door wider. "Come in," he said. "There's something I want you to see." Inside the church, near the exit, there was a small table Noah hadn't noticed before. On it were pens, blank cards, and a stack of identical notebooks with the same faded label. "Prayers I never sent." Noah stopped walking. "There are more." Elias nodded. "People leave them." Noah blinked. "What?" Elias picked up one notebook and turned it in his hands. "Because there are things people are afraid to say out loud. So they write them, and they give them to God." Noah's heart beat faster. "So, the notebook I found was left here," Elias said, "and carried out by someone who needed it to leave this building. Sometimes people do that. They take their pain home because they don't believe they're allowed to put it down." Noah stared at the notebooks like they were small doors. "Then how did it end up in my kitchen drawer?" Elias shrugged softly. "Maybe someone gave it to you. Maybe you borrowed it and forgot. Maybe God placed it where you'd see it." Noah wanted to argue. He wanted logic, but the timing had been too exact, too precise. He felt like he'd been found. Elias walked toward the front pews. "Sit with me," he said. Noah sat. The church was quiet again. Elias spoke without a sermon voice, like a man telling a true story. "When I was younger," Elias said, "I tried to pray perfectly. I thought God only listened to people who sounded confident." Noah nodded because that sounded familiar. Elias continued, "Then I lost my wife." The words landed heavy in the air. "I begged God for a miracle," Elias said, "and I didn't get the ending I wanted. For a while, I stopped praying. Not because I didn't believe in Jesus, but because I didn't know how to talk to. Stunt. That night, before bed, Noah opened the notebook again. He didn't read. He turned to a blank page. His hand hovered over the paper. He was afraid of what would come out. Then he wrote one honest sentence. Jesus, I'm tired of being strong. And beneath it, he wrote the line he had seen on every page. If you're here, please don't let me go. He tied the string, turned off the light, and whispered into the dark, Amen. For the first time in a long time, Noah didn't fall asleep by force. He fell asleep by surrender. Soft rain returns. Slow pace. Leave pauses were marked. The next day, Noah woke up startled by one simple thing. He remembered dreaming. It wasn't a grand dream. It was ordinary, walking through a field, hearing his own footsteps. But for Noah, it felt like proof that his mind had finally unclenched for a moment. He sat up and touched his face, half expecting to find tears he hadn't noticed. He carried the notebook to work like it was fragile glass. All day, he felt a strange tension, hope trying to rise, fear trying to push it down. Hope whispered, maybe you're not stuck. Fear hissed, don't get your expectations up. On his break, Noah sat in his car and opened the notebook again, reading a few pages at random. Jesus, I'm afraid I ruined everything. Jesus, please help me forgive my brother. Jesus, I'm tired of pretending I'm fine. Each one felt like a window into someone else's storm. And yet, Noah couldn't stop thinking. If these people dare to tell the truth, maybe he could too. After work, he returned to the church. Elias was there again, sweeping the steps like the world didn't need to be rushed. When he saw Noah, he nodded as if Noah had kept an appointment. You came back, Elias said. Noah held up the notebook. I did what you said, he admitted. One arrest written with tears. Elias's Noah's throat tightened again. Good. Do you Noah really hesitated. Jesus, why does it feel scary? Even when I feel nothing. Elias leaned on the brick. Elias answered because honesty drama. Feels like standing without armor. Just that. Noah's mouth. Then he added, feelings are guests. Jesus is faithful even when the guests leave. Noah looked at the open door. Warm light. Quiet air. No crowd. No pressure. Just space. Elias stood. Come inside for 1 minute, he said. Not to perform. Just to breathe. Noah followed, almost against his own logic. Inside, the church was simple. Wooden pews. A cross at the front. A few candles. No band. No microphone. The quiet there wasn't emptiness. It was shelter. Noah sat in the back row, his hands clasped together without planning. He waited for something dramatic to happen. It didn't. Instead, his shoulders dropped like his body remembered how to stop bracing. Elias sat a few rows ahead, still and ordinary, like a man waiting with God, not chasing him. Minutes passed. Noah's mind tried to run, but the quiet kept inviting it back. And then, from a place deeper than thought, one sentence rose up again. Jesus, I'm not okay. He expected shame to follow. Instead, he felt a small release, like a knot loosening by one thread. Not healed, not fixed, but not alone. When Noah stood to leave, Elias turned slightly and said, that was prayer. Noah blinked. How do you know what I said? Elias's smile was gentle. I don't need to hear the words to recognize the weight leaving your shoulders. Outside, the air was colder than the church, but Noah felt warmer inside his chest. As he stepped off the church stairs, Elias called softly, bring the notebook back tomorrow. Noah paused. What? Elias's answer was quiet. Because it doesn't just belong to someone. It belongs to anyone who needs to tell
light
the truth.
across the sidewalk.
Noah walked home
On the
with
steps,
the notebook
an
in
old
his
man
bag,
was
but
sweeping.
for the first time
Not
in months,
angrily,
his thoughts
not in a
didn't
hurry,
feel like
just
enemies.
sweeping.
They felt like
steady as a
waves that
metronome.
might still crash.
Noah didn't plan to stop,
but perhaps there was
his
a
feet
shore
did
now,
it before his mind
a place
decided.
to. The old man looked up and smiled, as if he'd been expecting Noah. Long day, the man asked. Noah tried to answer with something casual, but only a sigh came out. He nodded. The old man's eyes were gentle, the kind that didn't demand explanations. He leaned the broom against the wall and sat on the step like he had time to spare. Noah said, surprising himself by introducing his name. He didn't know why he did it. Maybe because the old man's presence felt safe. Or maybe because when you're tired enough, you stop pretending. Elias, the old man replied. Come sit for a minute. Noah sat on the step, careful to keep a polite distance. The church door breathed warm air and faint candle scent. I can't sleep, Noah said finally. My mind won't stop. Elias nodded like he'd heard those words many times and still treated them like they mattered. Sometimes the heart is loud, Elias said, because it's trying to be heard. Noah stared at the street. Cars passed. Somewhere, someone laughed. It all felt far away. I don't even know how to pray anymore, Noah admitted. I used to, I think. But now, I don't know. I feel nothing. Elias didn't correct him, didn't lecture him. He just said, then pray like this. One honest sentence. Noah almost laughed. That doesn't feel like prayer. Elias smiled. Jesus wasn't impressed by long speeches. He was moved by honest hearts. Noah's hand drifted to his bag without thinking. I found something last night, he said quietly, and pulled out the notebook. Elias's expression didn't change much, but his eyes softened as if he recognized the cover. Made calls. Noah turned it over and smiled for visitors. I don't know who this belongs to. Never once told Jesus. Elias watched the notebook. The night his father died, Noah sat in the parking lot with the steering wheel in his hands and said nothing to God. Not because he didn't believe, because he didn't know how to speak through the lump in his throat. Now, holding this notebook, he realized something painful. Silence isn't always peace. Sometimes silence is just swallowed prayer. So he didn't try to fix his feelings. He only gave Jesus the truth, like setting a heavy bag down by the door. He said one honest sentence, Jesus, I'm not okay. Then he let the silence hold that sentence like a fragile cup. The next morning, the world looked normal. But Noah didn't feel the same. On the commute to work, Noah noticed how everyone looked like they were carrying invisible bags. A man in a suit rubbed his temples at a red light. A teenager stared out the bus window with eyes that looked older than his face. A woman in scrubs leaned her head against the seat, exhausted before her shift even began. Noah couldn't fix any of them, but he felt a new kind of tenderness. He prayed silently, not with perfect words, but with a simple request. Jesus, hold them too. He kept thinking about the notebook, about the courage it takes to tell the truth when you're afraid God will turn away. He tucked it into his bag before work like a secret. At lunch, he tried to pray. He really did. But the old habit returned. He started with polite words and ended with nothing. His mind wandered. His throat tightened. He felt stupid, like he was talking into a hallway with no one on the other end. That evening, instead of going straight home, Noah walked. The air was cool. Street lights blinked on one by one. People hurried past, their faces lit by the glow of their phones. As if someone had learned to survive a small church he'd never really noticed before. Please don't let me go. It wasn't grand. Noah swallowed just brick and worn steps. It felt like he'd been caught reading someone else's diary, spilling a except the words sounded like they were describing his own heart. He turned another page and another. Some prayers were about money. Some were about grief. Some were about addiction, guilt, betrayal. A few were simple, childlike requests. Please help my dad stop yelling. And please keep my mom safe in the hospital. One page made him pause because it was only 2 sentences. Jesus, I can't sleep. My mind won't stop. If you're here, please don't let me go." Noah's eyes stung. He sat very still, as if sudden movement might break the moment. And then something surprising happened. He didn't feel answers, but he felt seen. Like Jesus wasn't rushing to fix him, but was close enough to notice. Noah closed the notebook, tied it again, and held it for a long minute against his chest. He didn't know who had written these prayers, or why it was in his kitchen drawer, but he knew this. The notebook had found him in the exact hour he was most alone. He carried it back to his room. He didn't sleep right away, but he stopped fighting. He lay down and did something he hadn't done in weeks. For years, Noah had believed prayer was a ladder. Climb the right words, reach the right mood, then maybe God would meet you at the top. But ladders are exhausting when you're already tired. Lying there, he remembered his childhood church, how his mother used to pray at the edge of his bed when he was sick, how she never sounded fancy, how her voice trembled sometimes, and how that trembling never seemed to offend God. Noah had forgotten that faith could sound like a whisper, not a speech. He thought about his father's soft room tone. The last season of his dad's life, very low. Hospital room. Noah didn't remember the last time he fell asleep without Noah had been there with his own pretending to be the strong. The day always ended the same. He had held cups of water, lights off, phone face down, and a ceiling that turned into a screen. On it, his mind projected everything he wished he'd said differently, everything he feared might happen, everything he couldn't control. He tried breathing techniques. He tried one more video until his eyes burned. He tried counting backwards, but the moment the room went quiet, his heart got loud. That night, the quiet felt heavier than usual. It started with a message from his sister earlier that day. Nothing cruel, just tired words that landed sharp. "You're always distant," she'd written. "It's like you're here, but not here." He stared at the sentence for too long, because it sounded like the way he talked to God lately. Present, technically. Honest, rarely. At 2:17 a.m., Noah sat up and whispered into the dark, "Jesus, I don't know what to say." The words didn't feel holy. They felt like giving up. He swung his feet to the floor and went to the kitchen, careful not to wake the house. The tiles were cold. The refrigerator hummed. The clock blinked like an impatient eye. He opened a drawer for tea and found something that didn't belong. An old notebook tied with thin string. A faded label clung to the cover. The ink smudged like it had been handled by nervous hands. "Prayers I never sent." Noah's fingers tightened around string. He couldn't explain why his chest warmed, then tightened, as if the notebook knew his name. He sat at the table, untied the knot, and opened to the first page. The handwriting was different on each entry. Some letters were neat. Some looked like they'd been rushed through tears. The prayers were short, almost rude in their honesty. "Jesus, I am scared. Jesus, I am angry. Jesus, I feel like you forgot me. Jesus, I'm ashamed of who I am when no one is looking." At the bottom of each page, the same.